So what is up, guys? Nick here, helping you to master your technology. Hope you're having a fantastic day, staying positive, staying safe out there. Really do wish you all the best with everything going on right now. But today we're going to talk about, should you buy an iPhone 7 or an iPhone 8 now that it's it's April 2020 now already, and there's rumors of a 2020 iPhone SE edition coming that's supposed to look just like this phone, come in red, black, and I think silver, white, that kind of color, and be like $399. So these are going to be tough to recommend right now, but at the same time, that phone's going to be twice as much as these are currently, like on the refurbished or used market. But definitely, I don't think right from the start getting an iPhone 8 is a good deal if you're going to buy it new. So in terms of the body, the design, the build, the looks of these phones. Now, for some reason, I feel like Apple's the only one who can get away with still putting out a phone like this in 2020, more than likely going to put out a similar body, mostly due to the software on these phones. However, definitely still smaller than your typical new large beast smartphone like an iPhone 11 Pro Max. For example, got a case on this one, but this is a really large phone in comparison to like an iPhone, 7. So definitely if you want a smaller device and you want it kind of like at a really cheap price, the iPhone 7's body is still lightweight. It's still definitely very thin, and I think very easy to one hand for a lot of people. So yeah, I do think the iPhone 7 is going to be a great option for those of you who just want the cheapest, lightest, but still one hand, but not too small of an iPhone. Now, talking about the iPhone 8, that body is pretty similar. It's actually identical besides the fact that it has glass on the rear. Now, the glass on the rear does make the iPhone 8 feel a little bit more modern because the glass is kind of what you have on the newer iPhones. So definitely feels more modern with the glass. However, the design with the bezels on the front, it's just not there. Like it's just these bezels are just too thick on this phone right now. However, again, because of iOS software being on here and the fact a lot of people still like Touch ID, again, I just think Apple's the only one who can get away with a design like this. If you look at all competing Android manufacturers, almost no one would put out a phone like this in 2020 and be able to sell anything that would amount to anything. Many people do like the classic iPhone 6, 7, 6S, 8 design. So it might be a good option for you if you're looking for a cheaper than the 2020 SE edition that's going to be coming of this phone. It's going to be a good option for you in the iPhone 8. Now talking about their displays, they both have Retina displays at 4.7 inches. Now, again, the size of these displays really comes down to, do you like a 4.7 inch size? I mean, if you liked the iPhone SE size, this actually feels quite big by comparison to the iPhone SE, but still a lot smaller. I mean, a lot smaller than almost anything that's currently new coming out right now. So it still lends to that very compact feel in these smartphones right here in the iPhone 7 and 8. And both of them do feature that same weight, that same lightweight, compact feel. However, I will state that the iPhone 8 actually feels a little heavier than that of the iPhone 7. So if you want the ultimate light, the aluminum body is lighter than the glass material you'll find on the iPhone 8. In terms of the actual quality of the display, not bad. It's LCD. We do have a 16:9 standard aspect ratio, so a lot of videos are not going to have any type of, cutoffs during the video. Also, pretty good brightness, over 600 nits for both of them, and very good resolution, I think, for the size of the display. 326 ppi is nothing to sneeze at. It's pretty good overall, PPI, I would say. And both of them do feature 3D touch, something that's not even on the newer iPhone. So still a neat feature there in both iPhone 7 and 8. I would say that the displays, if I was to say an overall thought about the displays, it's just the way they look. They just don't look as modern as the newer phones. However, they still have the same type of, quality as say like an iPhone 11, iPhone 10R. Those displays might be a little bit better, but these are not bad whatsoever. You're not going to have a problem with the retinas on either of these. So here is the golden thing about the iPhone 7 and iPhone 8, both of them. The iPhone 7, iPhone 8 both feature the latest software, iOS 13.4 on board. And this is so key because both of these phones are quite old now. I mean, iPhone 8, not too old, it's 3 years, but the iPhone 7 is around 4 almost. So Yeah, these are not relatively new devices here. These are pretty getting dated now, but they do have the latest and greatest software, and they have better chipsets than older iPhones that came before them. So what that gives you is it gives you a phone that is able to run demanding tasks and even a lot of light tasks with a breeze, even though time is continuing to pass on. So what I mean by this essentially is that if you had an iPhone 5S before, that thing is probably lagging right now. Even an iPhone 6 not performing amazing, and I know some iPhone 6 users are going to be like, no, it's performing amazing. You have not tried the newer phone. You're not going to know exactly where I'm coming from. You got to try the newer phones to see the massive leaps in performance. Having most of the features that you love from iOS 13 are here. Yeah, you still have to swipe up from the bottom. You still do use a Touch ID scanner. Not everything, there's no gestures on here, stuff like that, but the general OS feels pretty much the same. And if you have an iPad that's not an iPad Pro, these phones still match that design pretty well. The iPads still have the Touch ID with the thicker bezels on the top and the bottom. And one more thing about the software, does dark mode look good on this phone? Some people ask that, it's LCD. Yeah, it still looks quite good, the dark mode on both of these devices. And talking about the performance and the RAM, now they both have 2 gigs of RAM. We have an A10 Fusion in the iPhone 7, and we have an Apple A11 Bionic chip in the iPhone 8. So the iPhone 8 actually has better performance, definitely, over the iPhone 7, but it's not as much as you might think. It's not night and day difference on the day-to-day, but it's more swift in terms of when you're running through a bunch of apps at once, you're running through a bunch of things at once, there's more likely to be a hang or something like that on the iPhone 7, but it's pretty rare on both. It's pretty impressive how the iPhone 7 still performs, even though it's from 2016. If you take a look at Apple's iPad 10.2, it still rocks the same chipset, which means that this phone had really long life, just really, really long. Of course, with Apple in-house GPUs, the gaming performance is also rock solid. So yeah, buying these, as long as you don't get one with a crappy battery health overall, the performance is really good. And so looking at these Geekbench scores right here, you can see that not a big deal of difference. I mean, yeah, the iPhone 8 is better, but it's not like leaps and bounds so much better that it's going to really change your day-to-day performance. Remember, the benchmark scores don't really always give you an indication of real world performance. What they give you an indication of is that you have the better processor in your phone. And when it comes to their overall battery life, the iPhone 7 really, I struggled a bit to get through the day with that phone. But the iPhone 8 was definitely a bit better in this category. So I definitely would pick up the iPhone 8 if you're looking for a better battery life. I struggled with this one a little bit as well, but it gave me like an hour to an hour and a half better on the day-to-day. And anything you can use in terms of extra battery is always going to be useful and helpful. So get the iPhone 8 between these two, definitely, if you're looking for better battery life. And if you're looking for even better, check out the 8 Plus. So when it comes to the storage on the iPhone 7 and the iPhone 8, well, both of them did offer you guys up to 256 gigs of storage. So plenty. I mean, do you really need more than 256 gigs? That's about where I think is the sweet spot if you're going to use an iPhone for a long time. And I do think these do have pretty good life left in them. And especially if you get to 256 gigs, you got enough space to store everything you want to store on the phone. And that leads me on to the cameras of these phones. And here's where I would definitely choose the iPhone 8 over the 7 if you're looking for one of these two. The camera on the iPhone 8 is definitely better, has 4K 60 recording. The color rendition and overall results just look better. HDR looks a little bit better. Overall, the results on the 7 are adequate, they're acceptable, they were really good for the time. But if you want a camera that keeps up better today, by today's standards, just get the iPhone 8. And if you really want a better camera, spend the extra couple $100, wait on that iPhone SE from 2020 that's coming sometime this month. Now, when it comes to audio and speakers, the great thing about the iPhone 7 and the iPhone 8 is that they both came with dual speakers on the top and the bottom. The bad thing about both of these is that they both don't have headphone jacks. Now, I think most people have moved on from that. You can easily get very cheap headphones, Bluetooth headphones everywhere now. It's basically everywhere. So it's not that hard to live with these without headphone jack. But at the same time, I found the audio to be tinnier on the iPhone 7. So if you want better audio, spring for the iPhone 8. It's going to be the better option. Or again, consider waiting for the SE 2020 edition. It should also be pretty similar, but the audio is just better on the iPhone 8. So go for this one if you care a lot about external audio and speakers. Okay guys, in terms of the call quality on both phones, the call quality was surprisingly better on the iPhone 7 for me than the iPhone 8. I suffered more drop calls, more loss of reception with the iPhone 8. So if you're looking for the better reception, I would pick up the iPhone 7 over the 8, but I don't think that is a selling point because both of them will still make phone calls and send messages. And if you're not one to make a lot of phone calls and you're not out and about, which many of you aren't at this current time, this is not a big deal. So I probably would still get the 8 for all the other better things about it over the iPhone 7, and call quality is just not one of them. The 7 beats the 8 here. So we have arrived at the conclusion of this video. Should you buy iPhone 7 or 8? You can see these are pretty close overall as phones. They both look the same from the front. They operate almost identical, and a lot of people did not switch from the iPhone 7 to the 8. Just wasn't enough of an upgrade for them. Being that both of these are going to be cheaper than the coming 2020 SE, especially if you find them a really good deal used, refurbished, or you get them from a friend or something like that, these are going to be cheaper than that phone even. That phone's going to start at $400, go up to probably $550 depending on the storage you do get. So definitely still good options here. Both of them run iOS 13.4. But of course, if I only had to pick one, it's going to be the iPhone 8. Just because of the glass back, it feels more premium. I know it's more susceptible to cracking and stuff like that, but you also get the better camera and the better battery life as we talked about earlier in this video. I just like the phone more. It just feels like a refined iPhone 7, whereas the iPhone 7 feels like a better version of the iPhone 6S and the iPhone 6. So right now, my opinion, if you're looking at these two on a deal, first of all, wait for the SE 2020 to see what happens there. You might want that phone. And if you don't see it enough of an upgrade and you still want to get one of these used, I would say go for the iPhone 8 if you can swing it. If you guys found this video helpful, entertaining, informing, do me a favor, click the like button for me. Subscribe if you haven't already. I got plenty more content coming soon, especially the iPhone SE that's coming. We will be covering that in detail. Thank you very much for watching, and let us know down below, are you getting the iPhone 7 or iPhone 8 this year? Are you well past this? Video is really meant for people who are coming from like an iPhone 6S, an iPhone 6, maybe an SE, or even they just want to try iPhone for the first time. They got a budget Android, or even another Android. Just want to try the iPhone for the very first time on a budget. I'll catch you all in the next one. Thank you very much for watching. Peace.